Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Luke from Astro Awakening. Welcome to my new subscribers and those that have been here for the 5-year journey thus far. Thank you to everyone. This is a follow-on for the series around the astrology of 8/11. So November the 8th, 2024, and in particular focusing in on Australia and Sydney because of the nature of the symbolism, the foreshadowing, the programming leading up to this particular date. I was asked to sort of look at the astrology and let's see if there is some correlation or connection to the cosmic clock. So it's been a pretty mammoth task, and there's so much information coming to me from a lot of comments and people sending me stuff and asking me to look into things. Something from the last series I found interesting was people that were suggesting that Sydney, Easter Island, and New York are connected via a ley line. And apparently, the Sydney Harbour Bridge is directly connected to Hell's Gate Bridge in New York via Easter Island. And that sort of got my attention because I was thinking, well, the last solar eclipse in Libra, which I've spoken extensively about in this series, basically the Ring of Fire annular solar eclipse went straight across Easter Island. And Easter Island's an interesting place. We can't find really much information around like birth chart for that particular location. But whenever there's an eclipse that's going to cross a particular geographic area, it's not uncommon for those areas to experience some disruptive disaster, crisis, chaos, or change. So in ancient times, if you were the ruler of a land and an eclipse occurred across the land that you were in rulership of, usually it meant the end of your reign, the blackening out of the sun. It was seen as a pretty ominous sign. So the past solar eclipse, the annular solar eclipse in Libra on the South Node, again, I've spoken extensively about this, ran right across the top of Easter Island. Easter Island is connected to Sydney and Hell's Gate Bridge in New York. Very, very interesting when we look at the astrology. So this video, I'm going to focus a bit more on the actual astrology for the 8th of the 11th, and in particular, Sydney. So one of the questions that keeps coming up with regards to 8/11 is, are we sure about this date? Are we sure about this particular time? And, what if it's the wrong date? What if it's 2026? What if it was supposed to be, next year and it's going to be on August 11th, and all this type of like, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So with our human construct of time and dates, calendars and so forth, we overlay over the cosmic clock. And whoever is sort of in reign of time through an era or an epoch is sort of going to control the date and the time and the calendar. So I sort of don't necessarily look too much at our date and time. I had a question around like, have you allowed for daylight savings and all this type of stuff? The sky clock is the keeper of time, right? In the sky clock, we have 12 signs of the zodiac. On the actual clock on the wall, you have 12 hours, that repeat. So our measure of time is directly connected to the great cosmic clock. So if we want to understand what real time it is and what's likely to occur at specific times, we've got to look to the clock. Even in Egyptian mythology, the god Horus, right, which was known as the sun god, is where we get the word hours from. So Horus and hours, right? So it's like the sun is telling us what hour it is, and the moon tells us the minute. And the moon in astrology is an activator or a trigger. It's a release type of indicator. And you could say it times things to the minute. The moon times things to the minute. So I went back and I looked at a lot of the big events that had occurred in the last sort of 2 decades, September 11, Boxing Day tsunami, Fukushima earthquake, and the like. And I was looking at the moon as an activator or a trigger, and what was it doing during these events? Because the moon on the 8th of November 2024 is in a very prominent position that triggers a lot. And when we look at the moon, it's not just where it is in what sign and what aspects it's making, it's also what midpoints it might be activating. Now, a midpoint is a combination of 2 planetary energies. So the midpoint is like the halfway point between their pairing in the sky. And it's a very sensitive point that sort of combines the qualities of both those And when the midpoint is activated by an alignment or a moon or something like that, it tends to unify those energies and trigger what they represent. So I found it very interesting when I went back and looked at all these major events that are happening and seeing the moon, its position, its sign, its phase, new moon, full moon, quarter moon, three-quarter moon, and the like, as well as what midpoints it was activating. So I'm going to just quickly show you a couple of the examples and then tie it into November the 8th and why I think this particular date and time to the minute is going to be very significant to watch. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you my perspective on moving forward and how to consume this information in a way that's helpful, not hurtful, in a way that is practical. So what you can do with this information for you and what's in your best interests with you and your loved ones. I will say that I do not think it's a good idea to broadcast this willy-nilly to everyone to try and create some sort of awareness around what may or may not be happening, because some people are not capable of hearing this, seeing this. And if you confront them with that information and they are incapable of hearing or seeing this, it could activate them in a very troublesome way. They could lash out and be very aggressive. They could be put into insecurity and anxiety and fear. If they're not capable, if they're not ready, it can be more harmful than good to do this. So just exercise caution. You know, those that find this information are meant to find this information. It's not up to you to then go out and just tell every Tom, Dick, Harry on the street what may or may not be occurring, because you're going to come across like a complete lunatic and it's going to cause more harm than good. We have a Mars-Pluto opposition at the moment that's potent energy, and people are going to be triggered very easily, and they're going to have a disproportionate response to that trigger. Okay, it's like the floodgates of hell open, and all of a sudden you're trying to do the best. You know, they say the road to hell is paved with the good intentions of others. So you have a great intention, you want to help, but you end up in hell and you take those with you as well. And what may be happening for a lot of people is that they're triggered by this and it activates a deeper unconscious wound that's been repressed. And that deeper unconscious wound could be a really deep-seated fear or worry or hurt or pain. And just you with your great intentions to try and help and bring awareness. And we've got to do you've just triggered it. And what happens is, and they don't just respond in kind, like, oh, look, no, thanks, sorry, I'm okay. I believe in the Lord. It's going to save me. You know, whatever I'm meant to be is meant to be, or whatever. No, they just unleash hell on you, you know, and you both end up in hell together, even though you had good intentions. So I would err on the side of caution when it comes to how you broadcast this information. If you have people that you know are capable of seeing and hearing this, certainly you might want to expose them to it, especially people in the geographic locations that we've been suggesting. But just a, you know, blanket broadcast to the masses in general, exercise caution in that sense. It's, you know, those that have eyes to see, ears to hear, will know, will see, will come across this. And those that are incapable or incapable, that are just stuck in the illusion, even maybe what we would refer to as NPC type people, it is a fundamental attack on their programming and they'll glitch out on you. I know, because when I woke up to the flat earth 2014, 15, and yes, I'm a flat earth astrologer, even though I refer in some videos and images with the globe, it's just purely for, you know, visual purposes. But when I woke up to that, that's what I was like. Well, hang on a second. What the fuck? The Earth's flat. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. And I wanted to go around and tell everyone. And all of a sudden, I found myself was at the end of their anger and triggering them. And rather than sort of saying, oh, geez, that's interesting. How did you come about that? Tell me more. Oh, I'd never thought about it. No, it was just like, you're crazy. You need to see someone. That's dangerous. What are you talking about? And the same type of thing can happen with this information. If you expose it to someone that's not ready, that doesn't have the ears or eyes to hear and see, glitch their programming. Just let them sleep. The wake up is coming sooner rather than later. It's not up for you to intervene in that path or process. Free will, free will. Okay. So I just wanted to establish that beginning here. So here I have the birth chart for 9/11, 11th of September 2001, 8:45 a.m., Manhattan, New York. So I want to focus on the moon in this particular series here as an indicator telling us down to the minute what was happening, and its alignment. So this moon, first of all, is at its three-quarter phase. So three-quarter phase is when when you look into the sky, you'll see a moon with a line down the side. So it looks like a half a moon in the sky, but it's either a quarter or three-quarter moon. And it's the waning phase. So it's like the release phase of that lunar cycle. The moon was in Gemini, the same sign as Saturn. Saturn in Gemini, the twins, opposite Pluto in Sagittarius, ideology, religion. Okay. So it was an attack on the twins, bringing down the mind control. It was the removing of the veil, the waking of the people. That was the first indication. We need to break out of this symbolic sort of sleep that we've been in. And it was a real fundamental activation. Yes, crisis can be used for more than one means and reason. And yes, it was the ability for them to activate the ideological war on terror. But basically it was on, I guess, Christian versus Muslim ideals. So that was interesting. Now, the moon sitting on the midpoint between Jupiter and Saturn. So the midpoint is the halfway point between these two planets, and think of it as like an energy that combines the two. It's a very sensitive point. When the midpoint's activated, it unifies these energies. We've got the moon sitting on the exact midpoint at the timing of September 11. And the moon, even though in Gemini, we've got an opposition to the planet Mars, which is the god of war. Okay, so moon isn't in and of itself necessarily symbolically representing something, but it is a trigger that sort of activates certain alignments and creates a timing event. It's like, where's the moon? What's the moon doing? What did the moon do on that day at the precise moment of whatever occurred? It wasn't the moon causing this, it was triggering it. You think about the moon, right? And you think about its proximity to the earth, and it rules over our subconscious. It's the astral plane, right? So it's dealing with the emotional plane. So the moon then transports this astral energy into the earth. So the moon being the closest to the earth as a body, irrespective of which system, of whether it's geocentric, solar centric, flat earth, globe earth, whatever, we know that the moon is supposedly closest to us than any of the other bodies. So the moon then transports that energy down here from the astral, from the emotional plane into the reality. So we have this activation in the physical world, and it's not the moon causing it, it's triggering it. It's just allowing a pathway for that energy that's already here with the Saturn and Pluto opposition, so it's like an activation or a trigger point for that. This next chart, I have the Boxing Day tsunami, 26th of December 2004, and you might be thinking, why am I looking at tsunami? Why am I looking at earthquakes? Why am I looking at September? Why am I looking at these events? Because we know the timing of these events. We can look astrologically at what's happening. We can start to understand the types of alignments that were occurring and what the moon represented as a trigger for the release of that energy or bringing that manifestation into our physical earth. So it's just purely for historical data so that we can paint a picture. Why then I would be focusing on the particular date of the 8th of November 2024 and specific times and locations. It's because of what I see astrologically happening and what it may represent, and where the moon is in particular, and how it might activate or trigger a manifestation of these potent or latent energies. So you could think of all this energies happening in the unseen realm. It's not visual, it's not real, it's not a lived experience. Ask yourself this: 2024 has been this year of building, of intensity, of pressure. And, there's a ramping up of geological events, weather events, manipulated weather events, geological, man-made, also naturally occurring, amplified events. One thing I want to say as a side note is that what you should be picking up with all these major events, and the floods here in Lismore a few years ago were sort of the start of this period. But what you're noticing around the world when it comes to these main huge events, tornadoes, cyclones, flooding, fires, and the like, is the abandonment of the government and its government entities as a form of, help. They've set up blockades in certain areas. They're not allowing people in. They're preventing people from getting the right help. They're stopping civilian volunteers from lending a hand. And most of the effort in the aftermath of these events has been directly because of civilians. And it's sort of showing you, it's a little bit like in Leave the World Behind. And this character here has suggested that the scariest thing is that no one's really in control. When shit hits the fan, right? And it's going to hit the fan. When shit hits the fan, you're going to realize you're on your own. And you're going to realize that quick. There'll be an abandonment of who you thought was coming to save you. It's not going to happen. For two reasons, is because that system is dying and our reliance on external savior or support is ending. So we have to take radical personal sovereign responsibility for our life and how we choose to respond to life circumstances. And the second part to this is, if there's something happening on a mass scale, we're ill-equipped. We don't have the manpower. Police, ambulance, fire, hospital staff is minute, minuscule amount of people in context to the mass displacement of people, the civil unrest, the shifting of geological activity that causes people to have to flee their homes, and so on and so forth. Look what happened in Spain. Look what happened in Florida, in the US. So you're going to be on your own, and you have to come to terms with that and take radical responsibility and be prepared. And we're now at a time where I think you need to be prepared and you need to be responsible. And if this is triggering you and making you feel anxious or anything, you got work to do. You got a lot of work to do. So it's not too little too late. It's time to start now, and come back to what really matters. Come back to the moment and say, okay, well, am I prepared? What would I need to do? What would I do in the event of? The hypothetical at this point is all bets are off. No one knows exactly what is going to occur, but there is huge amount of evidence to suggest something is happening. Something is going to happen. As this energy is released and it manifests for us physically, it's going to be a shocking event. So prepare. Take responsibility. What do you need to do? Like if you had no power, communications, you couldn't buy food from the shops, if you couldn't contact your loved ones, if you couldn't go down the street, if you couldn't get out of the city, if you couldn't, you have to think about these things. Oh, that'll never happen. Complacency, ignorance, stuck in the dream. It's time to wake up. Back to the Boxing Day tsunami. And got the sun in cardinal Earth, Pluto, moving towards the final degrees of Sagittarius, fire and earth. Tsunami, right? It was caused by what? Well, it was caused by a shift in the tectonic plates under the water. Okay, a massive shift, earthquake move, like the plates moving on each other. This is the awakening of the forces that are deep into the ocean or under the earth or in the subconscious. The moon on this particular date and time, again, it's an air moon in Gemini. I want you to remember that the September 11th Gemini moon, we have this Boxing Day tsunami, we've got a Gemini moon. Not so much that it's Gemini, but it's the air quality here. Air is a medium that sort of can transmit and transmute and shift and things can move through the air. Sound, electricity can move through the air. Think of lightning. So the moon, at that moment, we're moving into the full moon phase, which is a big release point. It's a buildup of energy. And it was exactly opposite the midpoint of these two. So again, there's a unifying quality with these two in their midpoint. The opposition to that was a trigger to that particular point. On this event, you had this Chiron in cardinal Earth opposite Saturn in cardinal water. And you had the moving Earth, right? Cardinal Earth. Underground, under ocean mountain shifted. And then it caused a tidal wave, cardinal water, complete inundation. 250,000 people died. and millions more displaced. Power of the Earth, the power of this energy. Did the moon cause it? No. Did it trigger the release of this energy? Yep. It was potent latent energy there that had been building, right? So that's what these plates do, is there's tension, tension, tension. There's a look for a release of that tension. As a trigger to release it astrologically, the moon. The moon transports all of the unseen into the physical earth. Yeah, it comes through into the physical earth. Have you ever looked at the tree of life in the Kabbalah? The ninth sphere, the Sephiroth, the Yesod, is the lowest on the tree of life before you get to Malkuth, which is the earth, the physical realm, the realm of the elements. Here we have the earthquake for Fukushima. And again, there's a lot of debate as to whether this was a naturally occurring event or whether it was something that was, activated by a directed energy weapon or undersea bomb. There's a lot of theories around that. I'm not going to sort of enter into the debate here. Either way, this is the timing of that particular event. And again, we have a Gemini moon. So the moon has reached the air realm. Okay. And the moon in this particular sort of position activates the square to the midpoint to these two here. So that's Eris, goddess of discord, Eris, Eras, Eras, Eros, right? All the same energy here, goddess of chaos and destruction. Think of this woman with her world tour this year and the Eras tour, goddess of discord and destruction. And the moon was square to the midpoint of Eris Pluto. Bang, Fukushima event occurred. So again, it's an air moon and it's activating, or triggering a midpoint between Eris Pluto energy. It's just like the earth at a deep, 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 dark, unconscious depth and level. And again, there's a earthquake under the ocean. Interesting on this particular day too, the sun and Uranus were in Pisces, but Uranus and Neptune's the god of the water, the ocean. Think of Poseidon, at the 29th degree of their signs. The anaretic degree of crisis. Uranus almost into Aries, and that moon, sextiles that alignment. Again, picks up that energy, transports that energy. Uranus, we have this sudden disruptive force. Now, I'm sure we could go on and on and on with a lot of historical events and look at all the different timings and what was happening astrologically. The point of this is to actually illustrate to you that when we're looking at triggers of these events, historically, we're always looking to that moon as the release point, as the trigger point. Again, not in and of its own in what it represents, not necessarily meaning anything, but just the minute hand. So to the minute, think moonit, think hour, think sun. So the sun and the moon are like the hour hand and the minute hand of our clock, the cosmic clock. So irrespective of the date and time that's happening down here on this earth, when we look at the sky clock, we can look to say, well, what time is it up here? Because if something significant is going to occur down here, the clock will represent that because it shows the time of the evolution of humanity, this earth, this realm, consciousness, energy. That's the great cosmic clock. That's one of the things that's been veiled for us in the age of Pisces. And that's why they went out, and you were a heretic. You were deemed a heretic if you spoke about astrology or paganism or the nature gods or the elementals or anything like that. The church crucified you, literally, burnt you at the stake, run you out of town. They shut all that down. You not have any of these false idols that don't align to their God. Okay, so the big unveiling here is this reconnection, especially we move into the age of Aquarius, the age of awakening, the age of the zodiac, the age of, astrology. And it's our connection. Astrology allows us to understand our connection to Christ, to God, to the universe, to energy. We're all one. And we have this unique part to play in this great cosmic evolution. You know, this individual perspective, the subjective experiencing the objective from its own unique perspective. We're all one energetically. We all share Pisces, Scorpio, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Mars, Saturn, Pluto. We all have these components. They are within you. The zodiac up here is zodiac in here. What is in here is out there, as above, so below, as within, so without. So if you want to know what time it is and what's going to occur or may not occur in your life or the world around you, we have to understand the clock. And if we go back historically and look at major events and we look at the clock, we can go, wow, look at the direct correlation from the symbolism here of the language of the sky and the reality that unfolds down here. And when you fully awaken as an adept in this realm, a fully awakened being in this realm, guess what you have access to? You have access to that knowledge. As above, so below, as within, so without. You see the past, you can see the future. Those that have awakened can't come out and tell you, hey, this is going to happen, because you, in your illusion, in the sleep that you have been stuck within, will react from your conditioning programming and you'll glitch out. So and not only that, they themselves will become the target of your demons. Your hell will be projected. So they know not to do that. But there is a language that they use, and it's symbolic language. It's the language of symbolism, because they don't need to say it in German or Chinese or Russian or English. They can say it in symbolism, and it conveys that message to everyone. If you don't understand the symbolism, they don't give a shit. That's your ignorance, not theirs. Hey, we try to tell you. You know, I saw a breakdown of Annette from White Pill recently, breaking down the end of the movie Leave the World Behind and the little girl. And I'd watched that movie quite a few times, and her breakdown was right on point. Go watch that movie and watch that little girl's character and what she says and what she says about things. And she's there telling you, right? We tried to warn you. We tried to tell you this is coming. We're trying to tell you, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. They broke the illusion of September 11. They stole your crown in COVID. They're going to your heart next. Strike right in the heart. Once they got the crown, they can take your heart. So the chart that I have on the screen now is the chart for the 8th of 11th, 2024. So the 8th of November, 2024. The location here is Sydney. The time is 11 a.m. Let's look at the moon. The moon is in an air sign, 0 degrees Aquarius. If you have watched my previous videos, you will hear and see me talk about countless times the 0 degrees of Aquarius and the activation of that sensitive degree, the grand conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn on the winter solstice of 2020 vision at 0 degrees Aquarius. The grand conjunction moving this unifying energy into a new age and era. That degree is sensitive. That degree of the zodiac holds a lot of potent potential. You know, it's Aquarius, fixed air. It's wake up, wake up, wake up to this big picture perspective and the part that you have to play in this grand evolution of Earth and consciousness. Now, the moon at 11 a.m. in Sydney, this is Sydney time, okay? So this automatically adjusts for the time in Sydney. And Sydney has daylight savings. So if you're outside of Sydney in Queensland, that time is not 11 a.m. Queensland time, it's 10 a.m. One of the questions was around, like, have you adjusted for daylight savings? No, I don't need to adjust to daylight savings. The clock up there doesn't know it's daylight savings. It's only your clock on your hand here and the one in your car and on your phone that changes. That doesn't. So at that particular time, you have this moon. Let's go back a little bit, right? Just the other day, a day or two ago, the moon was new in Scorpio, a new moon in Scorpio. New moon Scorpio is conjunct Lilith as well. So this new moon Scorpio on Lilith is meaning that it's in apogee. It's the furthest away from the Earth. It's the dark side. Brings a lot of this dark side energy. So you've got this theme of dark, hidden, repressed energy infused in a Scorpio new moon, and Scorpio is the sign of death and rebirth. Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, the shedding of the skin. What is old and no longer useful decays, dies, break down, so the new can be rebirthed. You have Scorpio, you have the eagle, you have the phoenix. They're all symbols of this particular zodiac sign. In the age of Pisces, we fell consciously into this unconscious sleep. So they've given us the lowest form of Scorpio, which is the scorpion. It's a ground-dwelling insect, hides in the dark, very defensive, and ready to sting if it's threatened, right? Ready to attack. What we have to do for sovereignty is rise above our lower nature and become the eagle, the bird of freedom, empowerment. Yeah, we can't be taken down into that realm, that scorponic realm, because we're in fight, flight, survival mode when we do. But sometimes we need to be brought to fight, flight, survival for rapid evolution, for change. It's take you down into the depths of darkness for you to discover your light. So on 8/11, the moon will be at its first quarter phase. So the moon in the sky will reflect the opposite one to 9/11. And the moon is going to look like this. When you look in the sky, there'll be a line across it, and there'll be a half a moon, but it's known as the quarter phase. It's the new phase. We have a waxing moon, a building of energy. And as the moon hits into that Aquarius, it passes over Pluto. So it's unified with Pluto energy. Pluto is the god of the underworld, the gates of hell. We just showed you in a lot of the major events that have occurred, geological, 9/11 and such, there's always a Pluto component here because it releases this unconscious, repressed depth energy. We have a Mars opposition. This Mars opposition today, the 5th of November in Australia, the day before the US election, what's going to happen? This moon rising in the east triggers the opposition to Mars-Pluto. Mars-Pluto opposition. Mars is the co-ruler of Scorpio. Pluto is the other ruler of Scorpio. The new moon, Mars, Pluto are opposite, at war with one another, building of tension. You can feel it. There's a tension. You know, this is that trigger point where people are erupting in rage or anger or disproportionate to the actual trigger. So the Mars-Pluto opposition is waiting for a trigger. Waiting. That tension is waiting for a trigger. Coming off the Scorpio new moon, the moon moves forward in time, hits Pluto, opposes Mars as Mars is setting and Pluto is rising. Pluto is rising. Pluto, the god of the underrealm, deep within the hidden realm of your unconscious and deep in the earth, is rising at this moment that the moon triggers the opposition to Mars, the god of war in Leo, attack on the heart. This is an attack on the heart of the matter. The moon will be exactly opposite the midpoint between Vesta, which is on the South Node, and Uranus. Uranus, sudden disruption, sudden changes, unexpected. Vesta, the heart of the matter, the goddess of the hearth, the fire that burns, that keeps things lit, the heart of the matter, the heart of the home. Vesta on the South Node, the end of Libra, peace. The moon, which then you could also look to Pluto being as well opposite that midpoint, and Mars being conjunct the midpoint between Vesta and Uranus. The heart and the sudden change, the liberation. The sun The hour marker sits at the midpoint between Venus and Vesta. Venus, a gateway to the heart through love. Vesta, the heart that keeps burning, the heart that of the home. And the sun, the hour marker, on the midpoint of those, triggering the unification of those in Scorpio, the death for the rebirth. Saturn in Pisces sits on the midpoint between Eros and Pluto. And because it's on the midpoint between Eros and Pluto, the god of discord, of chaos, and the god of crisis, death, rebirth, Phoenix, and Saturn sitting on the midpoint of these two, Saturn brings things into physical reality. There is a real level of experience with Saturn. It's tangible. Because it's on the midpoint between these two, it's on the square to the midpoint between these two. It's directly square that midpoint. So again, the square, the conjunction, the opposition to a midpoint activates it, triggers it, creates this spark which releases their tension. Eros, the end of an Eros, the Eras tour, Eras tour. Eros, Eros, A-O are interchangeable. Interchangeable. The vowels don't really matter. They're interchangeable. They've been trying to tell you chaos is coming. I told you to watch the series Chaos. You had Taylor Swift. Before you had the rise of Taylor Swift, you had Ed Sheeran. What was Ed Sheeran doing? He was shearing the flock. You got to shear the flock before you send them to slaughter because you don't want to waste that wool. So you had Ed Sheeran and his rise to fame. He's shearing the flock. Then you have Taylor Swift. Ooh, it's coming swift. Out of nowhere. Now, I could just be some crazy lunatic on the internet, putting up videos and talking shit. I didn't set out as an astrologer to present information about this nature. I set out to help people go through their awakening. Because I recognize through my own awakening journey that that's all that really matters is we must awaken and we must reconnect. We must reconnect to the God within, the God outside, and the God all around. And it is in you and it's in the earth, it's in the nature and it's in the people, it's in everything. And we've got to awaken to that. It takes us out of this age of unconsciousness that we've been perpetually kept in for the last 20,000 years of evolution. You've got to let that illusion go. This programming, conditioning, all of this is disappearing. This is the wake-up call. They've been shouting at you. They've been trying to wake you up. TRUMPet is trumpeting. No one is going to save you. You must save yourself. No Trump, Vance, Musk. They're awakened. They know the game. They're playing their part. They're playing the part. Stop playing the game. Stop playing. This isn't a game anymore. This isn't a game. This is life. This is why you are here. This is why you incarnate. This is the meaning of life here now, is to evolve or die, is to transform, is to awaken, is to integrate or die or perish. The end of an age is happening. Don't die with it. Awaken now. So you must do what is right for you. You must take personal responsibility, radical personal responsibility, and do what is right for you. There is no someone telling you what to do, how you should do it, where you should go, what you should not do. That is no. You need to wake up. You need to take responsibility. You need to do what is right for you. Now is the time. We don't know exactly what may occur, but based on the evidence I put forth here, based on all of the foreshadowing that's been going on for a long time, not just this year, not just this last 6 months, for years, probably 20 years of this programming. Subtle, subliminal, subconscious, symbolic. Have you got eyes to see and ears to hear? What message are you being shown here? Now is the time to act in your own best interest and do what is right for you. The time for alarm, the time for like awareness, the time for waking up is done. They took your crown, they're coming for your heart. Don't submit to it. This isn't about what may or may not happen. This is about how we choose to respond. And based on COVID, they know what's going to happen. They know how people are going to respond. Of course they do. Because at the core of it, we're primal animals. And when triggered, we revert back to that primal nature. Fight, flight, survival, fucking fornicate. This is the plutonic energy that's going to be released. Do not get caught up in this. Do not get caught up in how they may utilize this for their own purposes. Never let a good crisis go to waste. The aftermath is going to be blamed on this or that or whatever, irrespective. Don't fall into the trap. My firm belief in what's about to happen is known about for a long time. Probably more than 100 years has been known about. Is it going to be manipulated, amplified, triggered? Is it going to be taken advantage? Who knows? Who knows? We're going to go crazy considering those things. It's not the time to sort of look for who doing it, how they're doing it. We've got to call them out. They're trying to tell you, hey, it's happening. What are you doing about it? You're on your own. Do you want to go watch Friends? See what happens in the end? The illusion never really existed, right? What really matters most? What really matters most? Preparedness? I would say a few years ago, post-COVID, I'd say you need at least 3 days worth of supplies. Now I'm suggesting you probably need at least 3 weeks supplies. In the event that something goes down, in the event that there's no internet, there's no power, in the event there's a loss of civil control, in the event there's a civil unrest and rioting, in the event that you're in a city with 4 or 5 million people all trying to leave, how's that going to work? How's that going to work? So take precaution, have a plan, be prepared. If nothing occurs, no harm, no foul. Cool. We've been misdirected, misguided. The sky clock was wrong. The symbolism was something else. We've been given a red herring. I'll wear it. I'll take it. Cool. Shit. Could have fooled me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'll take that. Again, this isn't why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing what I'm doing because I genuinely care. And I want to help those people that want to be helped. I went through my awakening alone, with no support, no guidance, no light, just my own. And I made mistake upon mistake upon mistake. But I made it. I got through the other side. And that's what gave me the intention and motivation and desire to want to help others, because I was like, you don't have to do this on your own. There is help, there is support, there is guidance. This guidance that I've been giving here, you have to respond with how it feels for you. If this is coming across in a way that you think I'm crazy, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you thinking I'm crazy. I know I'm fucking crazy. I don't care what you think. But if this is resonating, something within you is connecting to this and you going this, okay, this is making sense of everything now that I've sort of looked at and thought about and think and heard, and then that's because the frequency is meant for you and it's activating you. Now act upon that intuition. Do what's right for you. What is right for you is right for everyone. You don't have to justify, you don't have to prove it, you don't have to tell anyone, you just do what's right for you. Be very, very careful who you broadcast this information to willy-nilly. If you broadcast this to the wrong person that's not ready and incapable at all, right, you may find yourself in conflict that leads you into hell with them. Not your battle. That soul is not your battle. That's them. That's their path. That's their story, their journey. Let go. One of the lessons of the age of Pisces is surrender. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. In order for us to move into the age of Aquarius, we have to let the age of Pisces go. Let it all go. Let the illusion go. Let the dream go. Let the just this fake, phony bullshit story we've been fucking force-fed from birth about this world and reality and how we're supposed to live in it and who's in charge and all of that. Let that go. None of that matters. That's an overlay. It's a program. It's a matrix designed to entrap you. Let it go. All of it. What about my house? What about the future? What about my, forget it. Forget it. This is about now, this moment, doing what is right for you now. Focus on what is right in front of you now. Not 10 years from now, now. This is the time. You wake up and you do what is right for you. It's Tuesday, the 5th of November here in Australia. A few days, this event will have come and gone. This moment in time will have passed. We'll either be on one side of it going, holy shit, or the other side going, wow, geez, I was sort of, convinced that something was going to occur. Where did we get it wrong? Which part did we misinterpret? How were we misdirected? Or, wow, I'm glad I acted on my intuition. I'm glad I was prepared. I'm glad I've decided to do what was right for me. That choice, it's up to you. Irrespective of what may or may not happen, I'll be fine. I won't lose any sleep. If I got this wrong, I'm not going to be like, oh no, I got it wrong. People are going to hate me. No, I won't. Again, this isn't why I'm doing what I'm doing. This was just something that came onto my radar and I decided to look at it. And when I looked, I went, well, this is some information here that's important for us to know. In correlation to the sky clock on this earth, where we're at, the timing of this, the symbolism, and the significant nature is like, okay, I have to present this my way. Moving forward, I'm completely booked out until almost the end of January. So I'll be fine. Those of you that have booked in for a session, thank you. Hopefully they've been helpful. I know it can be quite direct in my sessions. I'm going to give you the information as I see it. And my sole purpose here is to help you awaken, to help you evolve, to help you change, to know that you have the power and not have to be the victim. No more blame, no more victim. That's the age of Pisces ending. We cannot stay in blame or victim mode at all. When we victimize or blame, we are completely helpless. This is about sovereignty, which comes with personal responsibility. And this is the time you wake up to that and you claim your sovereignty and you take responsibility. Peace out.